Right, we are live. We are live. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna wait a sec so I can check that I can hear myself and stuff. And this time the mic should be good, and I didn't even know I was coming through the thing before. The laptop. So I need to go a bit louder, I'm guessing. Let me drop this. Okay, right. That should be a lot better. That should be good to go, if I'm not mistaken. 3-day, what are you saying? Okay, cool. Right. So, I'm gonna just jump into it real quick because I'm late. I'm super sorry I'm late. IRL stuff, just, yeah, like human stuff sucks to be a human. But yeah, basically, I'll just quickly reiterate what I introed with yesterday, and let me turn the music up a tiny bit. Oh, yeah, right now. Okay, I can get away with turning it up a little bit more. Okie dokie. All right, like we're good to go. Okay. Let's get into this. I'm down, and this time we've actually got the setup going on. So basically, right. So, yo, thank you, Ragnar. You're a babe. I think you're my only member as well. So thank you, man. You're a big don. Right. So, as I said yesterday, I've probably been around these leaks, probably more so coming up to a year. I said like over 6 months yesterday, but it's probably more so coming up to a year, if not a little bit longer. So I've seen over time, like when I first saw them and everyone was calling them bullshit, I was interested in them because a lot of all the theories that us guys would talk about in the server and stuff would come true. So, for example, Ragnar in the chat right now and 3-day in the chat, like I've spoken to them both on different occasions about the color green in One Piece, and they've both got different like takes on it and stuff like that. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's the sort of thing that gets leaked by Goad later on, which we have just had leaked actually like a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, okay, cool. Any issues? Let me know in chat. And that's about it. I got read part 24 actually. Yeah, there should be a link for this site in the description. I mean, 3-day, you're welcome to. Oh, you're not even modded. Wait, let me see if I can mod you from here. Yeah, as a mod, managing mod. Okay, right there you go. You got alpha powers. You're about to find out about them now. Okay, right. There you go. You got a couple wrenches in there now. I think my first ones. But anyway, so a lot of people hate this dude. A lot of people do not like this stuff. And for any of you that were here last night or yesterday, or caught a bit, then you would have seen the chat was like, holy fuck, like this guy's like yeah, it's pretty legit. So again, huge spoiler warning. If you don't want these potential leaks in your life, then now is the time to roll out Autobot Star. Okay, let me have a sip of my beer, and I'm just gonna start reading. Okay, here we go. Look at that wrench. It's looking good new. Excuse me. Okay, so the final war, part 4. Oh, sorry, part 24, the final war, part 4. The final war, part 4. Fujitora makes a decision. That ties into the previous parts we were talking about yesterday, where like him and Kuzan are basically going to meet up, and there's going to be some discussion about justice, like, because as I said yesterday, we got Kuzan doing the whole Snape thing at the moment. Like, he's obviously not a full bad guy, or he definitely wasn't just killing Garp normally. That's where the ice comes in. And Fujitora, we know, is kind of like a good Marine. So it makes sense that at some point, it's inevitable, in my opinion, that them two will interact before Fujitora dies, because he's an old guy, so he's probably going to die, even though it's One Piece. And then Kuzan will then be able to move forward and like create a new sword or a new navy or something with the ideals of Garp, Fujitora, and any other good Marines that we might bump into. Yeah, okie dokie. So when it says Fujitora makes a decision, that's what it's talking about. Like, he's going to go against... The decision will probably be to go against the world government. Right, prior to arriving at Wano, Fujitora is contacted by Kuzan. Kuzan questions the good and evil of this world. Well, I've just explained all that. Right, sweet, tasty, tasty business. Part 25, okay. The history of Marines, Sword and Shield. The Shield, aka CP0, their main purpose is deterrence and denial. It is to deter the continuation of the ancient kingdom's ideology and deny the freedom of action and knowledge associated with the kingdom. Right? Pretty simple stuff, and we know that to kind of be true already. Their secondary purpose is to serve as an early alert system and eliminate all potential dangers, dangerous persons, even if there is no substantial evidence against them. There might be some sort of like language barrier there to a degree where I imagine what he's saying is like they are tasked to prevent a certain truth from coming out, which should probably be, I don't know, the existence of the Nika fruit or the existence of Nika, or yeah. So, oop, I got a spider on me already. It's a good start. There's so many around here. Miguel, but they're not 100%, which makes me feel like he's only seen an outline. Completely, Miguel, completely. That's the weird thing, is he's not just like, it's weird. It's like he's seen certain pages. Some of these feels like there's more than coincidence. Yeah. It's eerie stuff. And I'm glad that you've like interested in them. Thank you, 3Day, for posting the link. Yeah, like D-Stream, tell your nan, all that stuff. So, as I say, they're going to be suppressing something specific. I imagine that's what that's alluding to. So, and it's not going to be the Ancient Kingdom. So, it's going to be either Laugh-Tale, and Lucci knows something about Laugh-Tale or something like that, or it will be, like I said a second ago, like the existence of Nika, or gods in general. Which is interesting, because the only place that we've had, like, gods fully introduced, for example Skypiea, are places where they aren't actually reached by the world government as far as we know. Anyway, they are Cypherpole 0 are also activated to stand at sidelines of major wars to observe and report to the Gorosei under the order of Eam and the ones who directly ordered them to go to Wano previously. Yeah, so obviously since all this, we've seen that like Cypherpole, like all CP0 went to Wano, got like the shit smashed out of them, and then the new Cypherpole 0 went to Egghead to deal with the Yonko, not just any Yonko. Well, I suppose Shanks is pretty yoked. They are also involved in major assassinations across the One Piece world. They have infiltrators in all affiliated countries under the world government. Okay. Shield members are the ones who assassinated Cobra. Shield members are the ones who kidnapped Vivi. So this was before Vivi, like, this was released like ages, over a year before what we've seen with Vivi since. And again, like, it's something that I was talking about for a while. Like, Vivi probably is going to be kidnapped again. She needs to be in Marijois or like around the area for Luffy to go back, if she's the reason. So Goad's talking here about the fact Cypherpole will be responsible for killing Cobra and and kidnapping Vivi. But what we actually saw was that we don't really know. Emu or the Gorosei were responsible for killing Cobra, using their shadowy Buki business. So yeah. As I said yesterday as well, if you've got any questions, just put them in the chat and I'll try to answer them. Laughtail, huh? I believe, yeah. By the way, the pictures, the weird pictures on the side are of Smokey. Both, that's Big Mum, that's Smokey, and I mean Smokey's Big Mum and Gaimon as well. And as I talked about him, I get a notification from him. Okay, cool. Right, Shield members are the ones who assassinate Cobra. Shield members are the ones who kidnap Vivi. So they're not completely correct. The Gorosei or the Emu was the one who killed Cobra. But, you know, I imagine, as we've seen before, he talks about different alternative paths that it could go. So, and I'm glad that Oda went the way he did. Their core value is absolute justice and swift retaliation on all fronts. The sword is created after Shield as more aggressive, active faction as opposed to the more passive Shield faction. Ooh. The bad blood between Sword and Shield is merely due to competition between both factions to see which faction has more achievements and which one is more redundant. There will be panels detailing some more details, but not very interesting in my opinion. Back to Sword, their main purpose is punishment, swift, decisive and devastating offensive action using any and all means. The Sword members are all by referral. For example, Sengoku picks X-Drake, X-Drake picks Kobe, Kobe picks Helmeppo. The Shield members are all picked by Marine top bosses, for example Sakazuki, and even world government, for example Gorosei. Sword members do not believe in absolute justice. The final war, part 5, Sword members betray the Navy and world government. The Navy starts to split into two factions, those who follow the absolute justice and those who do not. Okay, this one's quite a spicy one because it's one of the more debatable ones. Like, so far, up to this point, they've all been pretty solid, right? So, whereas this is definitely more like, is this legit? We've seen some stuff about Shield since. It doesn't seem to add up. So it's a strange one. It might be wrong. That might be completely wrong. Or it could be completely right. I mean, there's a lot there. For example, he talks about Sengoku picking X-Drake, X-Drake picking Kobe, Kobe picking Helmeppo. And if you were to say, like, Sengoku picked X-Drake to somebody like Koob, he'd probably tell you, like, oh, wait, that's an interesting point because there's all these parallels and stuff like that. So it's definitely possible in different nuances, but this one stands out as like not as viable as the others. However, when he gets to Final War Part 5, first line is Sword members betray the Navy and world government. Now that, I mean, come on, it can't be more apparent right now. Like, Kuzan is not friends with the world government. Garp, not friends with the world government. They highlighted it in the live action as well when he spoke to Kobe. He said, you know, your marine duties are not what's important. What's important is, like, essentially holding your justice and whatever you believe in. So it does look like they are going to betray the world government, and then it might be Cypherpole that defend against them. I've made some videos on this as well. I thought Cypherpole would turn. That's what we were seeing. But then last minute, we're just seeing Lucci jerk back. And this time, I'm not sure if he'll be able to come back from it. So I think Cypherpole might stay bad. And that which is Shield. And then Sword will go good, which would prove this correct if that was the case. It's just written in a way that, like, obviously it was written a long time before the manga was out, so things might have been embellished since and polished and shit like that. Let me just check the audio and stuff's all gravy. Okay, that sounds good to me. That sounds goody gumdrops. Right, let's get it. Okay, so the Navy starts to split into two factions, those who follow absolute justice and those who do not. That, again, is totally analogous in my opinion. It can be changed. Like, in other words, it means a good Navy, bad Navy. Well, it won't be as black and white as that. It would be more grey, but, you know, the protagonist and antagonistic Navy. Old ways and the new ways. Part 26, another really short spoiler to end the work week off. Frankie's backstory is coming sooner than you think. So, just to briefly recap, yesterday we spoke about it. Frankie is currently just left with Luffy and Bonnie, and it's said by Goad a long time ago that, like, them three are going to like essentially combine their powers for some strange true awakening later on in the story, and that Frankie's going to get Kuma's power, Kuma's devil fruit, which we thought was wild at first, but then when you actually look into it, I mean, it's completely legit. Like, and then, like, there's even weird nuances that show it. Like, Frankie's got little hands that come out his hands that make his hand look like a paw. Very strange. But so the reveal of the One Piece treasure, yes, it should. So you already know what it is. You've already told me what it is. Part 27, the Final War, Part 6. The Final War, Part 6. Okay, so in brackets he's put, I contemplated revealing the full backstory of this character. Do not read it if you wish to continue enjoying One Piece. The man who does not believe in God. So this is the only leak that we get about Akainu. And it's short and sweet, and it's pretty intense. So again, if you don't want to be spoiled, you might want to leave. So narrator, 55 years ago, somewhere in the West Blue. Edit, North Blue, not West Blue. Please note that there is a storyline. There isn't a storyline written out for me by Oda so that I can translate word for word. Life isn't that smooth, lol. Thanks to the folks who corrected me. So Akainu is born in the North Blue. A kid is born in a war-torn country. So just like we see with Whitebeard, Zebek, probably Shanks, I mean, with the treasure chest, you know, Luffy, Sabo, Kid. Due to the war, the country is left in poverty with not much resources financially and militarily. The kid's father had died just one day before he was born. There were lots of pillages. There were lots of pillages and murders were rampant around the country. Growing up, the kid is raised by his single mother. Regardless all that is happening, despite everything that's happening, the single mum never fails to do one thing, telling her baby that she loves him and then rocking him to bed or sleep every single night. This continues as the kid grows older, 3 years old, 5 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, and so on. I can't even count. The kid grew up being bullied and having his things taken away by other people, as you'd imagine. Over time, anger welled up in him. Together with some of the other kids, they started strategizing on how to retaliate, and fights ensued for quite a while. So in other words, he took the shit, had enough of the shit, was like, right, give back the shit. The kid and his gang began pillaging from those who once stole from them. Food and water were then shared with people who needed them. The kid believes that justice and kindness should and will always exist in this world, just as his own mum believed in. And there is no God who can serve justice. And if there is no God that can serve justice, then he himself will serve justice instead. Right, grab your tissues because it's about to get emotional. Part 28. For some reason, the people whom this kid shared the food and water with one day betray his trust. These people took turns to kick and hit the kid's mum when he was out. Savage. These people were threatened and forced to do so by the people whom the kid had retaliated back against. The mum was left bleeding furiously on the floor. Beside her was a nearly finished knitted dog toy that she wanted to give to the kid. It is now covered in blood red. Carrying his mum to the bed, he reciprocated his mum's love by rocking her on the bed, just as she always did with him. After a short while of rocking, the single mum entered into an eternal sleep. Savage. Savage. That's just raw. From then on, he never believes in the kindness of people again. Everything happens for self-interest. He vowed absolute justice and to eliminate all potential sparks of evil, regardless how small the sparks might be. Better to kill 100 innocent people than to let one person escape. With his face and body covered with the blood of his mum, he attacks everyone. Back to present. Perhaps everything happened for a reason. Seems like God indeed does exist after all. The man better known as Fleet Admiral of the Marines, Red Dog Sakazuki, dies. Miguel, we're on part 29. We're about to be on. Okie dokie 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 dokie. Right, part 29. Zoro versus Kizaru, round 2. Okay, not exactly much information, but we're seeing that right now in Egghead. So, again, guys looking pretty spicy. Part 30, The Birth of Four Gods. The Birth of Four Gods. A long time ago, before/at the dawn of the ancient kingdom's civilization, the environment was much harsher than the present. Across the whole supercontinent, the space people saw many blue sea dwellers living in harsh conditions. Lack of warmth, lack of food, lack of water, etc. Famine due to drought was common. Diseases were common. Deaths were common. The space peeps shared with the blue sea people plant seeds from where they came from. I'm guessing that's space. The seeds are uniquely found on the fairy earth. These seeds later grow into the trees that we now call the Tree of Adam and the Tree of Eve. Oh, no way. Okay. So Akainu is just a mama's boy. Yeah. Exactly, Ragnar. That's why you relate to him so much. What was I? Over the years, people started to give thanks and at the same time pray under the trees. Life, although slightly better, was still harsh. One day, a special fruit is born, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. They are all born directly out of the strongest desires and dreams of the collective people. There is also a backstory / chapter on Hakim. Fruit number 1, ability to create. Fruit number 2, ability to nurture. Fruit number 3, ability to sustain. And fruit number 4, ability to live. The users of these fruits in time all come to be known as the God of Earth, God of Forest, God of Rain, and God of Sun, respectively. So, we've got the ability to create, the ability to nurture, the ability to sustain, and the ability to live. Now, Goad suggests which one is which. Yeah, Goad suggests which one is which. But, I'll let you guys decide on what you think. The ability to create, would that be the God of the Earth, Forest, Rain, or Sun? I mean, it's a strange one. Nurture, sustain, live. Create seems to be the Sun, to me. Forest, I mean, maybe... Earth is Earth is sustain, right? Rain is nurture. Forest is live. I don't know. But yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, cool. So that's where we just first start touching on the four gods and how they came to be. In other words, desire of the four, if we had a poll on what your dreams were, the 4 highest results turned into fruits, and only 4. Part 31, The Birth of the Devils. The Birth of the Devils. Over the years, as lives improved drastically, people desire more and more. Greed grew as a result. In other words, when desire gets too much, you'll start to desire stupid shit, particularly if you know a fruit's going to grow out of it. Then came a period known as the Great Fall. Many fruit started to give weird abilities depending on what people desire. It is during this period where certain devilish fruit are born. One of them is the ability to destroy. This is later known as the Yami Yami Nomi, the birth of the Guardians. Subsequently, many Guardians were born, such as the Okuchi no Makami, for example. So, in other words, first 4 fruit are made. The rain fruit, sun fruit, forest fruit, and earth fruit. 5th fruit is made. So life gets better, and because of it, people start trying to abuse the matrix, right? Trying to break the system. So then people desire another fruit, which is the fruit to destroy, basically. Or there's a big dream to destroy. So that is created, which is the Yami, right? Which totally links up with Blackbeard, all about destruction. And also like links to the fact that Blackbeard does seem to be similar to the other 4 gods, or certain like sovereigns, for example, in the story, but at the same time very different. For example, what Whitebeard said about him, he's not the one they're waiting for at Laughtail. So yeah, it makes sense that he's got this weird body, right? So he's like different, like an alien is the idea. And I don't mean necessarily space alien, I mean like alien as in alienated from the other species or the main land. Oh, excuse me, that's rude. Part 33, a great war ensued. Outcome of the war. The Guardians defeated the devils. Oh yeah, so basically after this number, whatever it's called, number 5, the Yami Yami Nomi is created, we then see the birth of the Guardian Fruits. This is where we're going to get like the Soru Nomi, like Big Mums. We're going to see the most powerful motherfuckers, the Magma. Think like Titans from Hercules. Big old ancient superpowers. Yeah, and then it will just trickle down and get weaker and weaker. For any of you who have never seen Cabin in the Woods, check that movie out. I can't say anything about it if you haven't, because it will just ruin it. But it would not. It will surprise you if you haven't seen it and you don't know what's going to happen. And it's not like right at the end either. It just gets pretty much straight into it. So anyway. Right, so the Great War ensues, which is the which is the Yami Yami Nomi versus the 4 gods, carried out by Guardians or Titans or whatever you want to call them. Outcome of the war: the Guardians defeat the devils. The 4 gods defeated the ultimate devil, which is the Yami Yami. Yami Yami Nomi is hidden, and many others. Ancient Kingdom is born. A few hundred years later, a prince of the ancient kingdom named Dairaz is the user of the Nika fruit, later known as Joy Boy. So, for those who weren't here yesterday, the Dairaz thing, I'll touch on it super quickly. Very, very spicy that Goad leaks the name as Dairaz, because if we look at all of Oda's interest in fringe culture and the absolutely massive rise in the Dryas period movement, covered by people like Graham Hancock, stuff like that, and now it's like really popular and it's like in the pop culture, and like even academia is starting to budge a little bit with it. So we have this prince that's named, if that's correct, after the Dryas period. So like basically meteors hitting the earth more than we thought, more ice ages than we thought, and more volcanoes erupting, which is definitely all thematic of One Piece. Part 33, the 4 gods of the current era. The 4 gods of the current era: God of Sun, Luffy; God of Rain, Dragon; God of Forest, not yet revealed. It is not Ryoku. It's not Green Ball. It's a female. God of Earth, not yet revealed. It is related to Shanks. It is a male from the Figgleland family. Right. Forget this for now. We're going to be changing it as we go along, because there's some edits that need to be made. That Goad makes himself in the future. The devil of the current era is Blackbeard. He will awaken all his fruit power. Eam has the power to command the seas. The first time we see Eam's face will be when the Straw Hat crew reaches Lodestar Island. God of Earth is on Eam's side. You'll get an adverse. I've just been added. With this, Eam has control over the sea, land, and sky. Enel is captured, plus Uranus. Blackbeard allies up with Eam. Okay, very, very simple stuff, and people, like, no one's going to like it, and no one really should like it, because it sucks balls, but it's probably going to be the case, like Naruto, where we're going to get this third party, which would be Blackbeard, and the Blackbeard Pirates, and Fate, and the Devil, right? That's one party. and that third party is probably going to make it to the end. So in other words, our protagonist and some side like men from the protagonist side, like the Grand Fleet, they will take on the Navy and the world government, in my opinion, and they will defeat them, and in the meantime turn some of them onto their side, you know, like Sword. Another like repercussion of this will be that Eam will be defeated, and by defeating Eam, that leaves Luffy and the Navy to sort of semi-team up and try take on Blackbeard. And considering he's only one crew, it does unfortunately suggest he's going to be some, like, not some kaiju, but he's going to be an absolute beast, Madara style. So yeah, there's that spice. Also, it says Emu has control over the sea because of her power, land because of the occupation of the world government, and sky, which is Uranus, because according to Goad, they've got an L capture to, you know, make him electrocute Uranus to power it up, which we spoke about yesterday. It's very likely that is the source. Electric is the source of power for Uranus specifically, and it came from the moon. So yeah, we'll touch more on the gods in a second, but yeah. Okay, part 34, big spoiler. Shanks will die at Laugh Tale. Based on my source, Oda is still finalising the story for the final war. Once I know more, I'll dedicate a long post specifically to revealing details about the war from start to end. We're still at over a year ago at this point, since these were released, and I'll sort of keep you updated with the time when these came out as we go along. Let me just quickly check the tunes. Okay, that sounds fine to me. Right, part 36. Oh, part 35. Another short but heavy spoiler to start the week off. Something really, really sad will happen between Luffy and Law. This will happen much later, at the end of the One Piece manga, about 5 or 10 chapters before the last chapter. Now, what do we think that's going to be? Obviously, easy to assume eternal, like, immortal surgery, right? Perennial youth surgery. I personally think it might be Luffy turning it down and accepting his death with a smile, of course. That's my personal thoughts. Part 36, Thousand Sunny. Thousand Sunny. The technology of the Gown Cannon is like a baby when compared to that of the Ancient Kingdom's technology. Frankie is sad because Vegapunk laughed at his ship's strongest weapon, which we've just seen. With Vegapunk's help, the Thousand Sunny undergone a rather major upgrade in its strength. This is further improved using certain aspects from Pluton's blueprint. It is said if a certain unknown fuel or energy source can be used instead, Thousand Sunny might even be able to obliterate a small island. Chopper says, Chopper finally awakens correctly. Usopp fully masters observation haki, and all Seraphim, none will be able to use haki at that point. Okie dokie. So this is all becoming closer to the mark, like to the present day now. Some of the stuff we've seen, I myself in older videos have spoken about the fact that, like, if there were schematics there, and Uranus was sort of made, but using the flame technology, which is the mother flame, that would explain why Emu had to use the mother flame close to Marijois, because if you move it any further away, it will cost more energy, and that's flame energy, and there's a freezer inside Marijois, and you don't want to be heating that up, right? So that's why they hit it straight away. Now, the point is, if the mother flame is a pseudo-Uranus, and Shirahoshi's like a pseudo-ancient weapon because she's modern, and she's just a descendant of the original Poseidon, and then you've got Pluton just left there, it would make sense to me that Vegapunk would use, Oda particularly, would imbue the Pluton with the Sunny. Which means that we've got 3 pseudo, like, ancient weapons. We've got the invention of 3 new ancient weapons. We might even see something further with Poseidon. Some other feat of control There's smoke in a box. Right. So to me, it's very apparent that the Sunny is going to get some sort of Pluton remodel. I know a lot of people talk about it, a lot of people think it, and in my opinion, they're right to think it. Chopper's full awakening is going to be nutty. Part 37. Also, towards the end of One Piece, Luffy finally experiences swimming for the very first time in his life, and he still ends up drowning. Not really an amazing spoiler. Part 38, The Voice of All Things. The Voice of All Things. The ancient robots are connected / guided to all the people that carry the same blood as the direct descendants of the people from the ancient kingdom. Assumably the D-clan, right? It seems to have something to do with what is known as lineage factor. Yeah, Miguel, I agree. Yeah, it's a strange one. The whole Poseidon thing's a strange one because there's a lot of, in Fishman Island, we saw a lot of genetics, like diagrams of genetics of people crossbreeding. And it looks like humans kind of made fishmen or tried to breed them. And if you put a Sea King, like a Sea King's blood, like DNA or lineage factor into a human woman, I think that's how you're going to start getting something like a Poseidon, personally. By the way, how's the lag and shit and stuff like that? If it's real laggy, let me know. I'll try to sort it out. It seems to have something to do with the what is known as lineage factor and vice versa. This is why different people objects can sometimes find other people objects that are related to himself, herself, itself, just like Poseidon and the Sea Kings. This is why the ancient robot went to Marijua 200 years ago. This is also why Luffy so easily finds the ancient robot. This is also why in major events around the world, people somehow appear at the right time. This is also why Dragon appeared to save Luffy back at Logtown. This is known as the Voice of All Things. Okay, so, okay, sweet, nice. Thank you, guys. So it's pretty, like, that the Voice of All Things is pretty much, like, according to Goad, is just the name for the Deus Ex, which is fate. Okay? Like, Oda uses this shit all the time. Not just the fate, but all these, like, cheesy tropes, but he's just done them so broadly that, like, we like them for some reason. It's done so well, you know, like a Vivre card. The mystery surrounding it is so much more fascinating. The fact it's an absolute cheat card. So anyway, Dragon, that I'm not sure about that. We'll have to see. The major events around the world. Okay, interesting one. As I said yesterday, present day we have the Egghead incident 38 years ago. God Valley incident 38 years ago. Before that, Big Mum, Carmel freed the giants from supposedly Marineford. We don't know because it doesn't actually say it. But so yeah, that's what he's referring to. Like the inherited cycle of these inherited wills. This is why the ancient robot went to Marijua 200 years ago. Okay, cool. So that'll be because of some sort of lineage factor of the fish people, because they were doing the deal. The treaty. Part 39. Short and maybe not that interesting spoiler. Sanji is next to awaken Conqueror's coating. On a separate note, since Mads is the cover page for 1070, I'll reveal something that Mads did. The mad scientist cloned many things. Tashigi is cloned from Kuina with the knowledge of Shimatsuki Kiyoshiro. Kiyoshiro, he spelled it wrong. Tashigi is taken away from Kiyoshiro somewhat willingly, so that Tashigi had a chance to live the way Kuina always wanted. Okay. If you know Denden Kushi's material, then I've got a video that's popping at the moment. I think it's on like 27k or something like that. It's getting a couple of thousand views a day, or 1,000 views every day or two. But the idea is very simple. They're inherently tied in every single way, up to their names and the numbers that associated with the onomatopoeias from their nicknames and stuff like that. So Tori, I think, is 10-6, which is 16, which is in Tori's Tashigi's onomatopoeia. or nickname or something. Yeah, on the map here, that's it. So I myself, I'm not trying to sound like a dick there. I just mean like you can go see more if anyone is interested about the fact that Dragon seems to have ties to the Shimatsuki clan. Now, when we saw Sabo, his big flag, and everyone cheering on the execution stand for Sabo recently, there was all these. It was the Revolutionary Army, and they have flags up. Bunting is what we call it in English, like little triangle flags, like the Queen's coronation, stuff like that. And on it was the Shimatsuki crest, which means the Shimatsuki had ties with the Revolutionary Army, and we know the Revolutionary Army were going to that part of the East Blue and to them islands specifically. So when you start adding them together, it would seem that Vegapunk used Kyoshiro's knowledge to create Funkfruit, the sword devil fruit, and imbue them together. And so probably Kyoshiro said, look, like my daughter's been fucked by the Wado. It's looking not good. Is there any chance Vegapunk can save him? And Dragon's going to be like, actually, it's funny you say that. We've got this guy called Kuma who might be able to extract her will and put it into someone else, and then we'll give it to someone like Smoker who will protect her and keep her secret safe. So in other words, I completely believe that shit. And I know that's probably pretty wild for a lot of people. They're like, oh my god, it's so obvious, like, and that storyline's been dropped, but nah, that shit is coming back. Right, part 40, the sun, the goodbyes, and the straw hat. The sun, the goodbyes, and the straw hat. Long ago, when sailors set off into the unknown, that part of Tashigi that is Queen, what leads her to Zoro so often. Yeah, exactly, and there's like a million tells, some of them super subtle. For example, when Tashigi first meets Zoro, Zoro sees Kuina, but that's because Tashigi trips over and her glasses falls off, and then she looks straight up. So Kuina is Tashigi with her glasses off, Tashigi is Kuina with her glasses on. She was probably a very sick swordsman. She just hasn't had her memories like sucked back yet. But God, I need to be careful what I say. That sounds so wrong. Long ago, when sailors set off into the unknown to explore uncharted territories, they always wave back to their families they leave behind at a port of their home islands. Slowly, as the ships sail further and further, their home island becomes smaller and smaller, disappearing into the horizon. What is left is just the image of the big sun at the far horizon, guiding the sailors into the unknown with its brilliant, bright sunlight. Many years later, towards the end of the ancient war, as Dairaz and his friends set sail away from their fragmented homeland, Dairaz pointed out, "Look at the sun setting down tonight." When the sun rises again from the sea, this is when all of us will be back together again. Families, friends, food, lots of laughter and drinks. Doesn't the sun on the surface of the sea look just like the straw hat that I'm holding? Since then, the straw hat symbolizes the coming of the dawn. When the dawn comes around again, that millennium-old dream will come true. Okie dokie. So, that isn't to say that that's all that's going to be said about the straw hat. I think that's just a little bit of side spice, a little side story, or a little bit of an addition. It's not going to be super important. The straw hats are made, for example, in Amigasa. Everyone from Ohara wears a cowboy hat, right? People that are connected to Ohara wear a cowboy hat. Ace even, okay? By the way, Ace and Robin look very similar. And then if you go backwards down the Grand Line, opposite the way Luffy went, that means he's gone from Ohara to Wano, which then likely means he's had his straw hat, his cowboy hat replaced with a straw hat, and then that will be where they cover the whole weaving bonds of friendship and love and all the money in the world. Right, let me get the materials quick to roll a cigarette. Will I read this next one? I'm glad the quality's coming through a lot better. I'll be very honest, last night I didn't know until after the stream that my audio was coming through the laptop, not my headphone. So not only could you not hear me properly, but I wore a headphone all night for no reason. Okie dokie. Right, where are we at? We're at part 42. Okie dokie. So I know a lot of people like this one. If some of you are just listening and not watching, that's cool. Just peek your ears up for this, because it's not important, but it's real cool. Okay. So part 42, Redleg Zeph and Queen the Plague. Redleg Zeph and Queen the Plague. Note that this backstory will most likely not be shown in anime or manga. For those who can't remember who they are, Zeph now resides in the East Blue. Okay, you all know who they are, right? Zeph is Sanji's dude. Queen is obviously Wano, Fat Queen, right? Not that there's any... Okay. They are brothers who grew estranged from each other due to differences in values, with the most prominent difference being that Queen attacks women without any qualms. Sorry. Now, if you do go back and look at the arc, you will see, I haven't actually found this out myself, I asked somebody and they said yes. You'll see that Queen he hits a few women in Wano. So that's a nice little subtle addition there from Oda. And like when you picture their mustaches and stuff like that, they do look really similar. Just one's fat and one's not, which adds to the character. Obviously, like it would be relevant to their backstories. But okie dokie. Now let me light my cigarette and then I'll be good to carry on. Hello, doggy. You okay? Okie dokie, right. So their mum's death played a part in the separating from each other during their teenage years. Anywho, this is the origin of why Zeph never hit a woman and thereafter passed this value to Sanji. In other words, Zeph Queen related backstory is going to involve the mum and essentially dying or some sort of sadness, probably to do with physical violence, probably to do with like a man, probably to do with alcohol or food. Is it a cushy cigarette or a normal cigarette? It is a small cigarette. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of content that gets released later on in like some omnibuses and shit like that. Oh, cigarette's gone out, what's it? Alright, let's get back in the kitchen. Also, hallo, Ray, wie geht's? Schönen Abend. The Fishman Island, the Sea Forest, Joy Boy's Promise, the Tree of Eve, and the end of all devil fruits. 900 years ago, before the destruction of the ancient kingdom, as well as before the Great Flood, the sea level was drastically lower. Fishman Island and the Sea Forest. The Sea Forest was originally a land forest 900 years ago. Due to the flooding, sea level rose drastically and consumed the whole of the land that is now known as Fishman Island. Okay. So a lot of people think that the islands went up or down. I mean, the sea level went up or down. But according to Goad, and he gets into it more later, the sea level goes all the way down to the bottom, basically, like 100 meters or something like that. He doesn't say specifically, but as he says there, the sea forest would actually be a land forest, which is a trippy thought. That's a lot less ocean and a lot more land. Right, Joy Boy's promise. The promise made by Joy Boy was not to bring the whole Fishman Island up to 10,000 feet above to the sun. The promise was to destroy the red line and bring the water level back down to the original level so that the sun directly shines on the people who dwell at the Fishman Island. However, without the right people and right items, Dairaz was not able to do so. This is one of the biggest regrets he holds in his heart, for which he apologized to the Poseidon Agashi 800 plus years ago. Okie dokie. Ray, you got the great takes. You got the great takes. The man who taught me about stitches in One Piece. Where were we? The Tree of Eve. The Tree of Eve was originally not that tall. However, in the centuries being buried under the sea, it has never died. However, it continuously seeks the sunlight, and over nearly 1,000 years of seeking the sun, the Tree of Eve has grown ever so tall. Right, very simple stuff. The Eve tree is in the red line, which means that, you know, it's going to be striving for light, phototropism, and because of it, it's also how you grow weed and like certain other plants. Like, you make them grow higher without bushing out first, or you avoid it and do the opposite. But not that I know anything about that, but yeah. So the Eve tree is going to be 60,000 meters tall, which is from the base of the seabed to the Sky Islands where Marie Joie sits. We don't have an official height for it, but we're always shown clouds. And in this last chapter, when we went there, it was really like pushed hard. Like, there was like single individual panels just showing parts of the outside of Marie Joie with clouds all over it. Okie dokie. This is compared to the 30,000 meter ones that we see, for example, the Adam tree. If that does go up to the clouds, that will be 30,000 meters. The drums on Drum Island are 15,000 meters, which is exactly half. So they were probably trees that were cut down. The tree of O'Hara was obviously not that tall. So yeah, the Eve tree is going to be the biggest one. Right. So the end of all devil fruits. At the end of One Piece, there will no longer be any devil fruit powers. The reason for devil fruit users becoming a hammer and sinking whenever they touch the sea is not because Mother Nature hates them. Edit, what I mean is that the true reason is not as simple as because Mother Nature hates devil fruits, as per what Vegapunk said, or because of any random anime logic. In other words, there's a reason why devil fruit users sink. The true reason is because of the eternal yearning of the fruits wanting to return back to the original soil land. That is 10,000 feet below the current sea level. All fruit users have an innate yearning to go back to where they are born, and an innate intuition that has been lost to time. Note, I purposely exclude talking about Noah solely because of the fact that I know if I were to write about it, I may as well write the whole ending of One Piece out. I think it's just disconnecting me real quick. And now reconnecting me. Okay, so we should be back and reconnected. Part 44, Marshall D. Teach and Monkey D. Luffy. Marshall D. Teach and Monkey D. Luffy. Blackbeard's awakening will not involve absorbing other people's devil fruit powers into his own for his own usage. Blackbeard's ability to use more than one devil fruit power is due to him having more than one heart and blood circulatory system. Each system does not commingle with the other. So much that the devil fruits disappear and be opposed to. That's exactly one of my endgame theories too. Yeah. I'm pretty confident. Like, I think a lot of people are starting to lean towards that. Like, there'll be no devil fruit powers, and we'll see something more akin to like the real world. Anyway, thank you, Ray. Luffy will put Blackbeard into a dreamland in which both of them will fight in the land of dreams. The battle will end with Blackbeard falling asleep forever. Luffy is the one who will will all devil fruit powers back to nature, thereby ceasing all devil fruits forever. Okay, I've spoken about this quite a lot with some friends over the months. Like, the Blackbeard thing is beautiful. I always thought it's going to be an extremely difficult character to redeem, and maybe it was through controlling Zebek inside him, or Zebek's will, to give Luffy a few seconds to get away or something and save the world. It might be done like that, but I didn't really like the idea. But the fact that Blackbeard never sleeps, he was shown with the moon. You know, essentially the moon has been awake since the dawn has been shunned. So Blackbeard's, you know, symbolically tired, and he gets to redeem himself, which is by just going to sleep forever. Which, I mean, I've personally, sleeping's quite nice, right? And then Luffy's obviously going to use his superpowers to start sinking some fruits. Well, not sink the fruits, but essentially like probably harvest all of them into one fruit or one power, and then sink that into the core of the earth or some bullshit. I don't know. Part 5, laughing mushrooms. Laughing mushrooms. The powdered laughing mushrooms are used as one of the ingredients for making smiles. Genius. Genius. Why is this kind of spicy? Most people won't give a shit because they don't care about mushrooms in One Piece. But we don't know much about mushrooms. We knew that one grew off Django's face, which he then ate, and then he gained the abilities that one would gain from eating a devil fruit, which in this case is hypnosis. It's a very mystical power. Van der Decken's a very important power. Greenball, when he walks through Wano and it's all revitalizing, we see a lot of Flyer Garrick, which is, I believe, toadstools, what you call them, like red with the white spots. So yeah. There's smoke in a treasure chest. Okay, cool. Part 46. The memories we shared over a cup of sake. The memories we shared over a cup of sake. Just a short spoiler. The importance of Kuma's abilities cannot be understated. The ability to convert the intangible to tangible is very significant to the current and upcoming arc. Anyone who reads One Piece, not Two Piece, knows that Kuma's ability is unreal. It's the ability to displace something, but in order to make something that's not real displace, you can realize it, you can make it real, which is time and space bending, similar to Luffy's, and not too dissimilar to his daughter's Bonnie's. Memories from the ancient past can be frozen, and it will not disappear even after the user dies. The frozen memories can be forcibly inputted into another object. This is how Dryas recorded his stories into a Dende Mushi, which after 800 years is found by the Roger pirates on Laughter, most likely, who then know the whole history of the Void Century. This is why Odin in his journey said that on that day we discovered everything. Okay, so I won't touch on it too deeply because it'll take too long, but if you want to get deep on it, think about like inherited will, dreams, memories, love. You can extract that and you could put it into, for example, a straw hat and then preserve that hat in the cold, in a freezer, which is exactly what we see in Marie Joie, or in the story in 908. Or is it 906? 906 or 908. Emu's in both of them. I think it's 906. Okay, part 7, The Last Farewell. Tributes to Shanks, The Last Farewell. In the panel where the final curtain closes on Red Hair Shanks, these are the final words that he speaks. These nuts. Just joking, but it would be funny. Luffy, in the land of dreams, you know that place between sleep and awake. That place where you remember dreaming of all the things and people you love. That's where we will always remember you. That's where we will always be waiting. If it's you, I know it's possible. Dreams will definitely come true. Will definitely come to pass. Shanks passes back the straw hat back to Luffy, and with that, with a bright smile on his face, his hands fall. Probably the only D member that's going to die. Only non-D member that's going to be dying, smiling like a D member. Okay. Shanks passes back the straw to Luffy. Okay, cool. Part 48, Will of D. Short head canon. Will of D equals Will of D. Yeah, okay. D is not D. It is not an alphabet. It's a symbol. It has been shown in both anime and manga a couple of times. The dot is the 4-letter word here, if it is an English word. It is not a person's name. In other words, D is not D dot, right? So the D means something and the dot means something, a 4-letter word, maybe moon, right? Or something along them lines, or dawn or whatever. But the point is, the first part, the D, is not a letter, it's a symbol, which if you've been around the community as long as Ray has, then you'll know that that's quite a common idea, like that the D is maybe a is half moon, half sun, it's a sunrise, it's the dawn. Okay, cool. Part 49, Dr. Clover's discovery. Shorter head canon since work is getting busier. So this is where he started adding stuff later on, after all of his bans, which is where you start seeing him call it head canon. Because it started to get, like, at first he didn't seem to be fussed about the bans, but like then it got real. Like, you could see he was like, dude, I cannot post this stuff anywhere without getting banned. Since one of the Gorosei's name has been revealed now, I'm pretty sure many people can guess in hindsight the relationship already between the fifth elder, stars, and the celestial bodies revolving around Dr. Clover's 3D model, so I guess it's time to revisit this post. See part 21. I'll explain that. Maybe it's a smiley face. Okay, so we spoke about yesterday. Real simple stuff. We know now that Gorosei's names are planets, or tied to planets, and we know they sort of sit in a certain order, which reflects the like a geocentric system with Emu in the middle. However, and that's what we saw in the orrery in O'Hara with Dr. Clover. However, the idea is Vegapunk will make a new orrery with the sun in the center, which is the heliocentric system. And that'll be, obviously, Luffy represents the sun. So the new world, when it's fixed, the sun god, Nika, will be in the center, and all the sun will be in the center, and everything will revolve around that. In other words, it'll be in its right order, if you're into that sort of shit. Right, before 1090, we finally know the identities of two more Elder Stars. Two of the stars lack raw strength but have absolutely monstrous power, suggesting some sort of life return or devil fruit ability. So magical powers or devil fruit ability. Shortly after, our most beloved Dr. Clover will connecting. Yeah, I see there's a little bit of buffer in there. Okay. Let me finish this one and I'll go move my internet. Should be fine. Part 1 or 2 of my headcanons, I initially mentioned the ancient kingdom is big landmass, supercontinent, which I then corrected. When the first explorers started to finally leave the supercontinent and explore the unknowns, they discovered new islands and species they never thought existed. So in other words, as people explored the world, they started learning about the truth of the world. I.e. it's not flat, according to some. Finally, during Dr. Clover's time, their numerous undercover exhibition out to the unknowns. It was only by stroke of luck, a fateful accident, that after a party one evening with a lunar eclipse, that Dr. Clover said, "Guys, why is the shadow of our world the reflection which then cast upon the cold, dark planet, the moon, high above, spherical in shape? On that day, they discovered the world is round." Okay, so basically by seeing shadows, they realized that that everything revolves around the sun, because the order of the shadows show you like you're not in the center. Okay, right. Let me go move my internet quick so it should go smoother. Okie dokie. That should be good. Oh my days. There's like tons of daddy long legs in the house. Okay. Right, because I started late, I'll do a few extra parts as well. Maybe it's a face. Yeah, maybe it is. Okay, part 50. The day the two straw hats meet. The day the two straw hats meet. The owner of the straw hat in Marijois belonged to Joy Boy from the Void Century. Before the ancient war, the water level is much lower. Emu, related to God of Earth, who has the power to manipulate Earth around us. The red line was actually erected as a fence to separate one half of the world from the other half, and then the water comes filling both halves during the Great Flood. I'll explain all this in a sec. People have started trying to cross from one half to the other half after the Great Flood, not long after. This was to be achieved via the original Tequila Wolf Bridge project. But somehow, water level and even the Earth itself keeps being manipulated. So much so that even after 700 years of constructing the bridge, people can never reach the final destination point. They are unable to. That is spicy. Luffy is the current owner of the other straw hat. can be valid because BB steals. Mm-hmm. Are you watching from behind, Nomad? If you are, you can still like just ask me a question. I'll still try to get to it, but just let me know so I can like relate. Luffy is the current owner of the other straw hat. This is what inspired Joy Boy to start carrying one 900 years ago. If we combine the two straw hats together, we get a full circle with a line cutting across it. This is symbolic. In this sense, the straw hat and Luffy hat that Luffy currently holds is one half of the world. The other straw hat in Marijois, owned by Nika, represents the other half. When the day the two straw hats meet each other, it symbolizes a complete world, a unified world in which there is a complete circle of life, representing all the freedom that have been deprived for many people over a millennia. Okay, let's pull it back a tiny bit. Right, dog, go on. You go lay down. Good, go. Right, so firstly, it says the god of earth, who it didn't give us a name, right, but it said was female, is related to Emu. Now, who do we think that is? If that is true, then it does happen to fit with a certain set of characters that we've learnt about recently, which is Lily. Lily has these deep inherent ties to Emu, as we know now through the little flashback. And it looks like in that flashback, when Lily was shown as a silhouette, the speech bubble was covering the top of the head, which means we didn't see her crown. The chances are that's because it's the same crown Emu wears now. Emu might have taken her form since. I mean, you guys can all speculate about that stuff. It's old news. But yeah, it's very, very, very spicy. So it's looking like Lily might be revealed to be the god of earth, which, spoiler warning, we get later. We get told by Go directly, just so you know, it is Lily. And the red line stuff will be, explained further pretty soon as well. Additionally, before I move on to part 51, that Tequila Wolf thing is crazy. And I have a question. He's implying that Lily created the red line. Okay, cool. There's some newer parts that touch on this, but basically we don't know who controlled the red line or who made it. It might have been Lily, like it might have not. But the idea is that the poneglyphs were distributed via Kuma's fruit, through displacement, through like being slapped. They were displaced all over the world to where they needed to be. However, the red line was being built really quickly at the time, and it stretched higher to stop the poneglyphs from reaching their destinations, which might be true, and it might lead to why we had two at Fishman Island, because they both might have hit the red line and dropped, which is why we then see Kuma hit the red line and then fall to the ground, rather than land on the ground like usual with a massive paw print in the ground. You can be sure as shit that like whoever had that fruit originally was important and probably non-human, hence the paw. Part 51. There is a reason. Oh yeah, and the fact that like Tequila Wolf is moved, they built a bridge for 700 years and they never make it. Bit stupid, but you'd start realizing like, wait a minute, that bit of land over there keeps moving. Strange. Part 51, Soul of the Devil Fruit. There is a reason why fruit users, regardless of friends or foes who come into close contact with Luffy, experience extreme growth in strength. Lucci at Egghead, his immediate reaction was to fully awaken when he saw Luffy. There was no words, no nothing. The first thing he did was instinctively turn fully awakened, balanced, as a zone hybrid. Impressive. Every time a fight occurs, every time the fists of the opponent come into contact with Luffy, the soul within the fruit eaten by Luffy is calling out to the other souls within the other fruits eaten by other users, thereby triggering a certain form of awakening. I'll probably call this pre-awakening. Makes sense, right? Because if Luffy's is the first fruit, or it creates stuff, it would have created, it's the father of the other fruits to begin with. So it makes sense it has this like authority over other fruits in some way, in some capacity. The souls of all devil fruits are interconnected, with varying tiers between them. The Hito Nomi Nika is the fruit that reigns most supreme among all, being the one that connects all. This element is crucial in how Luffy will will all fruits back to zero, thereby causing all fruits from being born again. In other words, Luffy, according to Gold, is going to unborn all the devil fruits. As we spoke about earlier, a lot of people share the idea that devil fruits are going to be gone by the end of the story, but this is some actual detail as to what's going on. I don't know this, but this might be where the Hito Nomis come in. They might have some sort of governance over other. I don't know. Hitos seem very significant, and I can't figure out why. They're super significant though. There's a lot of rebirth going on and stuff like that. But the point is that Luffy is, because of his fruit, is tied to every other fruit as the source, and he's trying to, kind of like the machines in Matrix, he's trying to basically suck everything in fruit-wise so he can then destroy the source. Which part? The soul of the devil fruit, like Luffy basically sucking up the other devil fruits. Part 52, building on parts 21, 33 and 49. What I'm writing next is probably no longer a spoiler headcanon, since I assume most people can already theorize it, but I'm just putting into words here what I suspect many people can already theorize based on the reveal in the past few chapters. Okay. The earth is the core, everything will fall to pieces. Okay. So, very simple. If Emu has this connection to the Earth God, particularly if they're related, then it would explain the ego, right? It would explain that the reason why Emu has an insistence on things revolving around her, or even if it's just symbolic, like the planets revolve around her and everything has to revolve around her. That is the current state of affairs. Emu is in the center of the pie, everyone else on the outside doing her bidding. The idea is to shift that so the Earth God is, or materialism in another symbolic sense, isn't the center of the world anymore. Instead, it will be hope and love and creation, which is the sun, or birth. So that's what that whole part's about. I won't go into it. It's too nitty-gritty. Okay, cool. However, years later, during the Void Century, the ideal vision is shattered by newly discovered powers who refuse to bow to Earth and do its biddings. They are Uranus, Pluton, and Poseidon. So now we've got another four god situation with Earth, Uranus, Pluton, and Poseidon. And like, again, the rebellious devils, with Earth being, again, concrete, strong, feminine, and the others being kind of unruly, which is the devil, which is the Monkey King myth, right? Like, even more threatening is the fact that the power of the sun is rivaling or even superseding the power of Earth, synonymous to the new world model being the true state versus the old world model. This is associated with the fact that Dairaz will be crowned as heir to the ancient kingdom, mentioned in part 1. Thus, the millennium hatred and cover-up is born. Okay, really simple stuff. So like I just said, another example, you've got Paradise and you've got New World, right? You've got the East and you've got the West. You've got the Monkey Clan, the Dragon Clan. You've got Roger and, I don't know, fucking Akainu. Like, the two, the light and the dark, or the yin and the yang, right? And that's just pretty much what he's talking about there. Like, Dairaz is classed as the heir to the throne, because he would have been the son, like the Joy Boy, right? And that is what breaks the mold and pisses Emu off, because Emu is now no longer going to be king or queen or the chosen one or the inherited one. Instead, it's going to be the brother, which leads Emu to get pissed off and want to, re-centralize things from around the sun to herself. Part 53, short post. In part 6, I mentioned Vegapunk will give Kuma's memory chip to Bonnie. Actually, Kuma's memory bubble was forcibly taken by Bonnie from Vegapunk. In part 44, I mentioned that Luffy and Blackbeard will enter into a world of dreams. Food for thought. I wonder how this world of dreams is related to the XXX in chapter 1074. Probably zero relation. Okay, so for those who don't get what that means, it's very simple. If you use Kuma's fruit to make a bubble with memories, and then you mix it with Bonnie's fruit to de-age the memories, right, or to make the memories younger, then it means you'll be seeing the memories from the past. Now, if Luffy can then use his power to break this, then he can then step into their memories, go all the way into the past and interact with the memories. All that would be required is like Kuma or someone like that, or a Gorosei member, to have memories of that time, which Kuma probably already has stored somewhere in Vegapunk's lab. Part 53.5. In part 44, I mentioned that Luffy and Blackbeard... Excuse me. In part 44, I mentioned that Luffy and Blackbeard will enter into a world of dreams. Oh, we've already covered that. If Bonnie is able to travel to a world of past memories, I wonder what will happen if a certain person with the power to make things from intangible to tangible combined with a certain person with the power to stretch. Okay, so stretching the past. Maybe that, or stretching memories all the way to the past. Maybe that person can make an intangible concept like time become tangible, and that person can stretch this tangible time, thereby triggering a forced return back to the world of the old past. Who knows? So you can be sure as shit that's going to happen. Okie dokie, right. So yeah, it's pretty simple. That's how the idea of this time traveling is going to work. And as I said in the last chapter, we saw which three characters split off together for the first time: Bonnie, Frankie, and Luffy. Now Frankie should be getting Kuma's power, right? The more you look into it, the more they're tied, the more you can see, right? And then that gives us them three in that position with Frankie's fruit, and then a relationship between the three of them, or a situation. But then you sorry, what were you saying? The crazy dish kitchen down, I love it. Yeah, and then basically, yeah, like as I just said a second ago, that's how then they would put the abilities together and start basically slingshotting themselves to the past temporarily. Because as we saw with Bonnie, they get spat out of it at some point. Repeating again what I said nearly 3 months ago, Kuma will die. He has to die. Correction to what I mentioned about Uranus in part 12 and 13. The Uranus that Ian currently has control of is not the actual ancient Uranus, which we know to be true now. That's Mother Flame. It is a replica of the actual Uranus with nearly the same power. The actual Uranus will be revealed thereafter. The pseudo-Uranus is revealed. In the ancient past, Uranus is known as the flying golden bird. It is powered by solar energy, plus the ancient energy source. It is golden in colour. Note, the two energy sources may actually refer to the same energy source. We'll share more when I have further info from my headcanon source. So the ancient energy source and solar energy, or one and the same, we use to power a huge golden bird. Golden bird fits perfectly. Golden city, country of gold, which is Wano. Shandora is the city of gold. But then it says plus the ancient energy, which might be the same. I personally think it isn't the same. I think the solar energy, it's going to be solar energy plus electric, or it's going to be solar energy plus will, which is what I think the ancient energy source is. I think it's will, because it's all around us all the time. And when I first read that panel, I just thought, like, that's what he was talking about. I didn't realize other people didn't think that until after. On Pluton. Pluton functions on solar energy as well, but the equipment to convert solar energy into mechanical energy has been taken/destroyed. In other words, the solar panels. Moreover, with it being buried so deep under the transistor or whatever. Moreover, with it being buried so deep under the current Wano, there is no sufficient solar energy to power it, even if the equipment hasn't been destroyed. In other words, Pluton's so deep down in Wano under the borders and stuff that even like if they could, it's just hard to get it that much light to charge it up at all. On Poseidon and Neptune, well, they just want the sun. The reason why Lucci and Kaku were shocked at the impossibility of Pluton being able to be built when Frankie quickly showed them the blueprint at Eni's lobby was because the blueprint noted that Pluton runs on solar energy. The craziness of such a technology being able to exist caused them to be in huge disbelief. Okay. I'm going to leave it at part 55. And then I guess tomorrow, if we're not streaming on TLA on the last arc, make sure you go sub. Then I'll read parts 55 to like 75 or probably more. I can go for a few hours. It's just I was a bit late today. So okay then, guys. Okay. Are we all happy with that? Any questions? Any complaints? Any what's is there anything anyone wants to like discuss or break down before I shoot off or anything like that, or any questions, or are we absolutely good? I'll see you all here tomorrow for some more spices, some more Gohdroger leaks, or should I just read a couple more? It's up to you guys. I'll let you choose. On the screen as well at the bottom you can see World of Mirrors. Yes. You mentioned the World of Dreams and the World of Mirrors, right? And we saw, what did we see in the mirror, in the diagram of the description of the mirror fruit? Like Luffy, like all we see is a blurred image with a straw hat in the mirror. So that again is sort of a little hint from Oda or Notrimoda that it's like reflecting the will, which is what Charlie saw. She didn't necessarily see Luffy, she saw the man with the straw hat with that will. Just like Tonji when he recognised Luffy at Jaya. Who has Lily's devil fruit? It's a good question. There's a couple options. One option is no one's got it, and it's hidden. Second option is it's been Oda's like assimilated it into the Gura Gura Nomi somehow. And the third option I'd say is maybe Eam herself. I know Muglatan. I might have a video on it, but Muglatan talks about that, and he's not the only one. Some people do think that Emu has the Earth Fruit, which would explain why the Tequila Wolf Bridge never reaches its destination, because a part of the promise when Emu's deal with the Celestial Dragons might have been like, look, you will never have to go in the sea, I'll make you a bridge that means you can cross from one side of the world to the other. But it just never gets built because the Earth Fruit user just keeps moving it back. The ancient relics have been seen, I believe. I think the idea is that a relic doesn't have to be physical. What happens if you get to Laugh Tale with your whole crew and you've got the right number and each one of them has a certain will? Vivi with a Nefertari will, Frankie with the Vegapunk type will, Nami with the... Well, that's a hard one actually. Usopp with the will of like the Bragman, the Nolan stuff, all that stuff. So they might be the relics. In other words, we have seen them all before. Brook, like, could have the Binksaki could be a relic, you know. And I imagine all these relics are required. 8 of them are probably required in order to open up the ancient kingdom, which is analogous with the symbol we see at the bottom of the Kazuki crest, right? Or the Kazuki, whatever you want to call it, which has loads of different meanings, but. Yeah, if anyone else has got any more questions, or if I do need to read any more, let me know. I'll just start skinning up a doobie or something like that. Let me see where they got to. Okay, let's do these parts. Part 56, Reveal of the Great One Piece, Part 1. Long ago in the ancient past, the king of the ancient kingdom had foreseen the destruction of his kingdom of the sun. Very similar to what we were talking about with Charlie. He is the one who ordered the Kazuki clan to construct the indestructible book known as Poneglyphs to preserve their knowledge and spread the book in many parts across the 7 seas. Let's go to 60. You can go 30 more minutes. Or so I'm up. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, cool, let's go. Long ago in the ancient past. Okay, cool. Okay. So, right, so basically the ancient king foresees, somehow comes across a prophecy or foresees the future, and just like Charlie saw, he sees some shit going down. And because of it, he makes the poneglyphs, which is like some ancient version of a book, caveman shit, basically. The D's are the direct descendants of this king, the old ancient king. The prophesied time to open the prophesied time to open Wano's borders has arrived, which is signified by reading one of the two straw hats. To read each straw hat, it has to be destroyed. I'll explain that after. If you give me 1 sec, I'll explain that. But first, I want to explain. So, the Zunisha thing's very interesting. We've spoken a lot about that between us guys and girls, and it's, like, a lot of you guys might already know this. Zunisha was punished and has been walking around for 800 to 900 years and has an island on its back, right? So that inherently implies that the charge or the punishment was to protect this island. Now, interestingly, the height of islands are particularly relevant in One Piece. And that's because if you go 10,000 meters or higher, then you're not going to find world government presence. It just so happens that Zunisha is 30,000 meters tall and stands in the sea, which means that she's even higher than the Sky Islands. And so basically that means that Zoe is pretty much untouchable unless Zunisha lays down. So it's pretty simple. I think Zunisha was tasked to bring Zoe from Jaya, the right eye of Jaya, where Shandora is, about 1200 to 1100 years ago. The city took 100 years to build, roughly, and that city was brought to Wano. But something happened. According to Gold, Zunisha was tricked, and because of that, it means that Zunisha then does something terrible and is punished. Potentially with the size of Zunisha and with like mythical stories around similar things, it might be because Zunisha stepped on something like Zoe, the original Zoe, and destroyed it, or the mink killed the mink settlers, the original mink settlers, or something like that by accidentally stepping on them. But Goad suggests that it was a fruit that was used to pull her off her rails, like to move her off the track. So it would have been an accidental murder. It's Oda at the end of the day. Okay. So, reading the Straw Hat. Very interesting. It's pretty simple. I'll get the picture up because it's a good picture and it explains it perfectly. All you got to do is set fire to the straw hat and you will get this. So what it is a single thread with all the spines of the hat that were once woven together pulled out basically into a straight line. This is indicative of stuff like DNA. This is indicative of the spine. It's classic deep symbology like Kundalini and stuff, basically. Like that basically all of your nervous system, like your chakra and stuff like that, all of it is one circular system. It's one nervous system, and if you were to straighten it out, it would look like that. So it's pretty simple. Goad thinks that Luffy... Basically, long story short, Goad thinks that both Straw Hats eventually will be burnt and read, and this is how prophecies are read. And in other words, Amigasa Village, in Wano, the young girl, little does she know, she will actually be partially weaving fate, or the weaving of the hat will be aligned with your fate. So it makes sense that your like this woven talisman that you have with you, or relic, will contain the complexities of what's known as the lattice of coincidence of that individual. So in other words, all of your shit is kept in the hat. The hat represents all you're going through, and when you go through it, it's, you know, represented by the hat. So it is what it is, dog. I personally don't like that idea, but it is what it is. The current people who can decide and read the ancient language are Nico Robin and the awakened people from the Three-Eyed Tribe. The message decoded by Robin reads as such. Pluton, the solar ship of the ancient kingdom's name, which is going to be the Sun Kingdom or something like that, Eastern Kingdom of the Sun, Monkey Kingdom. It lies dormant beneath, deep in the depth of Mount Fuji. When the thunder in the sky high above roars once again, the seals will break, and Pluton, the solar ship of the ancient kingdom, will be born again in the seven seas. The other straw hat in Eames' control is okay. Two things. Firstly, pretty simple in the quote that Oda's suggesting that like you use Uranus to break down the borders of. So when the time's right, Uranus will be able to be free. You'd use Uranus to break down the borders of Wano, which then releases Pluton. The water from Wano might affect the seas around there, and you might end up like communicating with Poseidon or like going from there to Fishman Island, or making your way there to meet Poseidon, so that all the three ancient weapons would be together. Now, the second thing is, if you say Uranus was used to obliterate Enies Lobby and make that whole, and then you ask people who would do that, most people are going to think it's Ian with world government. So many people, in my opinion, think that, and they do not think about the possibility that the ancient kingdom or the inhabitants of Laftel were the ones that may have destroyed Enies Lobby and used Uranus. Now, according to what Goda is saying here, Uranus is a product of the ancient kingdom. Pluton, product of the ancient kingdom. Okay, these are very big weapons, and it suggests that potentially at Reverse Mountain, which is the opposite of Marie Joie, that's where the Eastern Kingdom used to be. And they sent Uranus all the way around the other side of the planet, and it blew a hole up in the planet. But by doing so, it went all the way through and pushed Reverse Mountain up, which displaces themselves. So in other words, they shot Uranus into the bottom of their island, into the underground of their island, which fires up Jaya and its pieces all over the place, breaks it up and blah, blah, blah. And sort of parallels the knock-up stream as well. Personally, that's I think exactly what happened, personally. That's why we get the whole Reverse Mountain X-Marks the spot stuff. Excuse me. Part 57 revealed the Great One Piece Part 2. The message decoded by Robin above, in other words, the Straw Hat, belongs to Luffy's Straw Hat. For the message to appear, Straw Hats have to first be destroyed, and the pattern of the knots along each Straw Hat's pieces will finally be revealed. The Straw Hat crew returned back to Wano. Under Luffy's direction, Momo ordered Zunisha to open the country's borders. The destruction of the borders resulted in a thunderous roar that resonated across the sea and towards the sky above, and the walls surrounding Wano finally fall. Okay, so basically Zunisha uses her trunk to break down the borders. At first, I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought Blackbeard would use his Gura Gura to break down the borders, because he's coming for Pluton, and he'll just inevitably lose that fight, which he shouldn't. But at the same time, I think it does make sense that that Zunisha does break down the borders, because that is the full story of Zunisha in redemption, right? All of it. Like, you've got your problems, you've been punished, and now you've served your punishment, you can come back and you can finish your original job, which was to essentially protect, like, put Wano, Zoe in Wano, or like protect Wano, or protect the Joy Boy and his Nakama. The other Straw Hat in Eames' control is big not because the previous owner is a giant. The previous owner is Joy Boy as well, who is of a similar size to Luffy. Joy Boy's Straw Hat is bigger than the Luffy's Straw Hat because it contains a greater amount of knowledge. The act of reading it can greatly change the fate of the world depending on the owner of this knowledge. Blackbeard's crew appears at Wano Kuni. World government appears at Wano. With the help of Luffy's allies, they have been fending off attacks from these enemies. Using the coup de burst powered by the solar energy of Pluton, the Straw Hat crew, together with 1,000 Sunny, escape. Okie dokie. So, this is talking about Wano, it's talking about Blackbeard being there, and the details and nuances about how that's actually going to go down. Very techie stuff. Yeah, there's some stuff we can pull from that, but it's very techie. Part 58, reveal the Great One Piece Part 3. After escaping the crew After escaping, the crew finally explores the ancient Pluton. In a central room, it appears to be the main control room. There is a lever. Upon pulling the lever, the normal sail of the ship closes itself up and lowers down, and in its place, a metallic sail appears. So we're looking now at the hull of Pluton, but being used by the Thousand Sunny. This metallic sail is the solar panel that powers the ship. It's part of the equipment that helps to propel the ship even on the most windless days. Part of the equipment, as mentioned in part 55, has been lost. And that is as I said, the transistor between, that's the thing that translates the solar energy into electrical energy, which is naturally it's not going to be there because it's a huge part of the One Piece story. Like, if they had it, they'd just be able to leave and start the world again. Nonetheless, the remaining equipment is sufficient to propel the ship across even the windless area known as the Calm Belt. In other words, they built an electric boat. The Straw Hat crew is now back at Elbaf. Upon seeing Luffy's gear forms, they are now hailing him as the god of the highest sun, Sun God Nika. Elbaf will be the allies of the Straw Hat crew. The world government, after failing to acquire Pluton, is now in total panic mode. They have to capture Nico at all costs. And the reason for that, by the way, is so that other people can't translate the poneglyphs. You're just basically, all you need to do is kill the readers because there's so few of them. The second Straw Hat must be decoded in order for the world government to destroy all those that deemed as enemies. Robin was subsequently captured again by the world government. To save Robin, Luffy has to make a tough decision to exchange Pluton in return for Robin. Side note, Luffy accidentally pulls another lever and a solar beam was blasted the world government ships, destroying almost the entire fleet. It's not going to be as direct as that. Like, he's not going to destroy almost the entire fleet by accident. He's going to destroy a lot of them, I'd say, by accident. Like, it's natural, but yeah, it's not going to be totally broken. Reveal of the Great One Piece platform. The Straw Hat crew is not at Roadstar Island. The Straw Hat crew is now at Roadstar Island. The island must be reached in order to access the ancient kingdom. This is why the island is the road to the Star Kingdom of the Sun. Okay, so Star Kingdom could be the name of the ancient kingdom. The Roadstar Island is an island that is heavily connected to the ancient kingdom. Within the island itself hides a secret island. There is an individual who is currently living there, living alone since the death of his parents years ago. He prefers calling the Roadstar Island Lone Star Island, because he's alone, obviously. Before his father died, his father mentioned to him a prophecy that has been long passed down from their ancestors. It was prophesied that in near future a group of individuals will arrive, and so this boy has been waiting ever since for the fatal day these individuals will finally arrive. The boy is finally introduced in the last panel of the chapter. He has a D dot in his name as well. Okay. That's obviously nothing we can't speculate to its truth, because except for the fact that a lot of this other stuff's come true. Because it's isolated incident, it's a kid on his own on this little Lodestar Island thing. But it sounds juicy to me. I'm not giving you 60. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to have to come back tomorrow and smash it from 60. Just read for a couple hours. But yeah, you guys, as I say, any questions, let me know. Just jump in the Discord, shoot me any questions if you've got any in the server. And yeah, you guys have been amazing as always. I'm really glad that some people take the time to actually appreciate some of the stuff. It doesn't have to be correct. It's just, I'm a One Piece, we're One Piece theorists and fans, and this stuff is fascinating to hear. So yeah, okay. Anyway, you guys, thank you, Miguel. Much love for you guys. You guys make it all great. So, oh, yo, Fritz, yo, oh shit, there's many mans. Like the stream. Yeah, Nomad, I agree. I don't want the D to be just a symbol. However, the idea is that the dot next to it is supposed to mean a word. So the D is a symbol mixed with a word. Peace, Ray. Much love to you all. Yeah, peace. Oh, wait.